People assume staying quiet just means you are shy, but psychology reveals a heavier truth. Shyness is hesitating at the edge of the water, while social anxiety feels like drowning in puddles. You know the exhaustion of sitting with friends pretending to relax while secretly rehearsing every word so you are not judged. Ignoring this internal alarm will slowly turn your safe space into a permanent prison. Today, we will decode these signs and find your way out. Take a deep breath and tell me what state or city in the United States are you resting in tonight. There is a thin line between being shy and living with social anxiety. But from the inside, that line can be difficult to see. Shyness may make you hesitate before entering a crowded room. Social anxiety can make the room feel dangerous before you even open the door. Shyness is like standing at the edge of cold water, unsure whether you want to step in. Social anxiety is feeling as though you are drowning, even when the water barely reaches your ankles. That difference matters, because many people spend years blaming themselves for something they do not understand. They call themselves awkward, too sensitive, antisocial, or weak. They assume everyone else received some secret instruction manual for being human, while they somehow missed it. But social anxiety is not a failure of character. It is a pattern of fear that becomes so convincing and exhausting that ordinary moments begin to feel like tests you are always about to fail. This journey moves through 8 signs. Not to label you or diagnose you, but to help you notice whether your mind has been treating connection as danger and attention as a threat. The first sign is that you are always monitoring yourself. Imagine carrying a security system inside your head. Cameras pointed at your face, your hands, your posture, your voice, and every movement you make. While other people are simply having a conversation, one part of you is watching from the outside. Am I standing strangely? Did my voice sound nervous? What should I do with my hands? Do I look uncomfortable? The questions arrive so quickly that you can barely remain present. You are not only speaking to another person, you are also performing for an invisible judge who notices every pause, breath, and possible mistake. A shy person may feel nervous before giving a speech or meeting someone new. But social anxiety can turn small behaviors into sources of shame. Walking across a room, sitting in a chair, reaching for water, entering a store alone. You may feel as though people are studying you with the same intensity that you are studying yourself. Most of the time, they are not. But your nervous system does not believe that. It acts as if embarrassment would be unbearable, as if one awkward moment could expose something deeply wrong with you. So you become careful. Eventually, you use so much energy trying not to look anxious that the effort makes you more anxious. The second sign is that the fear feels completely out of proportion to the situation. You may understand logically that nothing terrible is happening, yet your body reacts as if you are walking through a field of hidden explosives. Eye contact feels threatening. Eating in front of others feels strangely intimate. Getting on a bus, asking an employee for help, answering a phone call, or entering a waiting room can trigger fear that seems to have no reasonable explanation. You may be afraid of being seen hesitating, of blushing, of saying the wrong thing, of having nowhere to look, of appearing nervous and then being judged for appearing nervous. And because the fear feels irrational, you may judge yourself for having it. You may think, "This is ridiculous. Why can everyone else do this? What is wrong with me?" But criticism rarely calms the alarm. It usually strengthens it. Now, you are not only afraid of the situation, you are ashamed of being afraid. That is how a simple moment becomes a private battlefield. The third sign is that anxiety begins to sabotage your potential. You may have ideas, but remain silent in meetings. You may know the answer, but avoid raising your hand. You may skip an interview, call in sick, or accept a lower grade because being noticed feels more dangerous than failing. You are not avoiding success because you do not care. You may be avoiding it because success creates visibility. Visibility brings expectations. Expectations bring attention. And attention feels like standing beneath a light with nowhere to hide. You let someone else take credit. You pretend not to know. You stay quiet when your voice could have changed the conversation. You choose the back row, the unnoticed role, the path that asks the least of your nervous system. Over time, this becomes painful. Part of you knows what you are capable of. Another part is terrified of what will happen if the world notices. This creates a particular kind of grief. Not the grief of having no potential, but the grief of repeatedly abandoning it to feel safe. Safety achieved through shrinking is never truly peaceful. It may reduce anxiety for a moment, but it also teaches the brain that hiding was necessary. The more often you disappear, the more dangerous being seen begins to feel. Soon, The same fear that keeps you from speaking may begin following you into your closest relationships, creating an invisible wall between you and the people you most want to reach. The fourth sign is that you feel separated from other people, even when you desperately want to connect with them. You may be sitting in a room filled with family, friends, or coworkers, yet still feel as though an invisible wall stands between you and everyone else. You can hear their laughter. You can follow the conversation. You may even smile at the right moments. But inside, you are calculating every response, rehearsing every sentence, and searching their faces for signs that you are not welcome. This is one of the most painful misunderstandings surrounding social anxiety. From the outside, your silence may look like disinterest. People may assume you are distant, cold, arrogant, or unwilling to participate. But the truth may be the opposite. You may care so deeply about being accepted that you become afraid to reveal anything real. You want to join the conversation, but each possible sentence feels risky. You want to make a friend, but your mind begins predicting rejection before the relationship has a chance to start. What if I sound boring? What if they do not respond? What if I misunderstand the joke? What if I try to connect and they make it clear that they do not want me? So you wait for the perfect moment to speak. But the perfect moment never arrives. The conversation moves on, and you are left with another painful piece of evidence that seems to confirm you do not belong. Someone who is simply shy may feel uncomfortable during the first few meetings, but gradually relax as familiarity develops. The ice begins to melt. Their natural personality starts to appear. Social anxiety can make that process much harder. Even after several conversations, your body may remain tense. You may still feel as though you are being evaluated. Instead of slowly becoming more comfortable, you become increasingly worried about maintaining the version of yourself that others have already seen. You may wonder whether they would still like you if they knew how nervous you really were. This fear can turn connection into performance. You become the agreeable one, the quiet one, the helpful one, or the person who never asks for too much. You shape yourself around what you believe will be safest for everyone else. But being accepted for a carefully edited version of yourself can still feel lonely. You may have people around you and still feel unknown. The fifth sign is that familiarity does not always create safety. Many people assume anxiety should disappear once you know someone well. They may say, "But these are your friends," or "You are with family. Why are you nervous?" You may ask yourself the same question. You have known these people for years. They have seen you tired, emotional, successful, and imperfect. Logically, you understand that you should be able to relax. But the alarm inside you continues to ring. You may still rehearse what you are going to say before calling a sibling. You may feel tense before meeting an old friend. You may carefully monitor yourself at family dinners, afraid of saying something foolish or becoming the center of attention. Even affection can feel exposing. Being asked a personal question may make your body tighten. Receiving a compliment may feel uncomfortable because it suddenly places attention on you. You may laugh it off, change the subject, or immediately criticize yourself to reduce the intensity of being seen. The mask stays in place, not because the people around you are necessarily unsafe, but because your nervous system has learned that visibility itself is dangerous. You may relax only when you are completely alone. Alone, you do not have to perform. You do not have to interpret anyone's expression. You do not have to worry about pauses, eye contact, or whether your presence is becoming inconvenient. Solitude brings relief, and relief can be powerful. But there is an important difference between choosing solitude because it restores you and needing solitude because every interaction feels threatening. One is rest. The other can become a hiding place. The longer you hide, the more exhausting it becomes to return. The sixth sign is that every social interaction continues long after it has ended. The conversation may have lasted 5 minutes, but your mind can replay it for 5 hours. At night, when the world becomes quiet, your brain begins its investigation. Why did I say that? Did my joke sound strange? Why did they look away? Was my voice too loud? Did I interrupt them? You review the interaction as though there must be a hidden mistake somewhere in the recording. You search through expressions, pauses, changes in tone, and moments that felt slightly imperfect. A raised eyebrow becomes evidence. A delayed message becomes rejection. A short reply becomes anger. A sigh becomes proof that you were annoying. You may call this overthinking, but it can feel more like a compulsive social autopsy. Your mind takes the interaction apart piece by piece, hoping that if it identifies every possible mistake, it can prevent rejection in the future. But the investigation rarely produces certainty. It produces more questions. Perhaps the other person was tired. Perhaps they were distracted. Perhaps the expression you noticed had nothing to do with you. Social anxiety does not easily accept neutral explanations. It prefers the explanation that places you at the center of the problem. This does not mean you are self-centered. It means your brain is scanning for danger, and social rejection has become the danger it fears most. The cruelest part is that you often judge yourself using information no one else remembers. The awkward sentence that keeps you awake may have been forgotten before the conversation ended. The pause you interpreted as humiliating may not have been noticed at all, yet your mind preserves these moments and builds a case against you. Eventually, the possibility of another night spent replaying every detail can make you afraid to interact in the first place. You begin protecting yourself not only from the conversation, but from the punishment you know your mind may deliver afterward. And that is when social anxiety often moves into its next stage. You stop merely fearing social situations. You begin reorganizing your entire life to avoid them. The seventh sign is that avoidance begins to organize your life. At first, avoidance may appear harmless. You decline one invitation because you are tired. You skip one gathering because work has been stressful. You let a phone call go unanswered because you need time to prepare yourself. Each decision seems reasonable on its own. But slowly, you become an expert at creating explanations. You say you are busy. You pretend you forgot. You wait until the last moment and claim that something came up. You may even hope for bad weather, a canceled event, or another person's change of plans so you can escape without disappointing anyone. The relief you feel when an event is canceled can be enormous. For a few moments, your body softens. The pressure disappears. You no longer have to worry about what to wear, when to arrive, where to sit, what to say, or how to leave without appearing rude. That relief can make avoidance feel like the solution. But avoidance is a skilled liar. It gives you peace today by making tomorrow more frightening. Every time you escape a social situation, your brain receives a message that the situation must have been dangerous. You did not stay long enough to discover that the fear might rise and eventually fall. You did not get the opportunity to learn that an awkward pause can be survived, that not every conversation must be perfect, or that people can accept you even when you feel nervous. Avoidance can spread quietly. You stop attending birthdays. You miss weddings. You avoid reunions, medical appointments, classes, interviews, and celebrations that once mattered to you. You may even withdraw from events created in your honor because being observed feels more painful than being absent. Sometimes you cancel plans you genuinely wanted to keep. You may spend hours looking forward to seeing someone, only to feel panic as the time approaches. You send an excuse, turn off your phone, and sit alone with a confusing mixture of relief and sadness. You are safe from judgment, but you are also separated from connection. This is why social anxiety can become so lonely. It does not always take away your desire for relationships. It can leave the desire fully alive, while convincing you that reaching for it is too dangerous. The room becomes your shelter. The closed door becomes your protection. But the shelter can slowly become a prison. The eighth sign is that your body begins expressing what your mind has been trying to contain. Before a social situation, your heart may begin beating with frightening force. Your hands become wet, your face grows hot, your stomach tightens, you feel dizzy, nauseated, weak, or unable to take a complete breath. You may notice your voice shaking or your muscles becoming rigid. Your thoughts speed up, while your ability to speak seems to disappear. At its most intense, the experience can feel like a panic attack triggered by the possibility of being watched, questioned, embarrassed, or trapped in a social setting. The situation may look ordinary to everyone else. You are standing in line, entering a classroom, sitting at a restaurant, preparing to introduce yourself, but your body is responding as if your survival is at risk. This is not attention-seeking. It is not drama. It is not a lack of gratitude or maturity. The body cannot always distinguish between a physical threat and a deeply learned emotional threat. When the brain believes humiliation or rejection is approaching, it may activate the same emergency system designed to protect you from danger. That is why telling yourself to simply calm down may not work. Your body is not waiting for a logical argument. It is preparing you to fight, flee, or freeze. And when this happens repeatedly, you may begin fearing the symptoms themselves. You worry that someone will notice your shaking hands. You fear blushing, sweating, stuttering, or becoming sick in public. The fear of appearing anxious creates more anxiety, forming a circle that seems impossible to escape. But a circle is not the same thing as a life sentence. If you recognized yourself in these 8 signs, please do not use them as another reason to criticize yourself. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not failing at something everyone else finds easy. Your mind may have learned to protect you too aggressively. Somewhere along the way, attention became associated with danger, mistakes became associated with rejection, and isolation became associated with safety. These patterns may be powerful, but they are not permanent. Social anxiety can be treated. Many people improve through professional support, including therapy that helps them understand their thoughts, gradually face feared situations, and build a more compassionate relationship with themselves. Seeking help does not mean your pain has defeated you. It means you have decided that fear should no longer make every important decision. Recovery may not begin with walking confidently into a crowded room. It may begin with answering one message, staying 5 minutes longer, making brief eye contact, allowing one imperfect sentence to exist without replaying it all night. Small steps are not meaningless when fear has made your world small. Each step tells your nervous system something new. I can feel uncomfortable and still remain here. I can be noticed without being destroyed. I can make a mistake and still deserve connection. You do not need to become the loudest person in the room. You do not need to love parties, enjoy public speaking, or transform into someone completely different. Healing is not about erasing your sensitivity. It is about gaining the freedom to choose your life instead of allowing fear to choose it for you. There may always be moments when your voice trembles. Let it tremble. There may be moments when your face becomes warm, or your mind briefly goes blank. Let those moments be human rather than humiliating. You are allowed to take up space before you feel completely confident. You are allowed to be seen while you are still learning that being seen is safe. If this video described an experience you have carried silently, consider sharing your story in the comments. Your words may help someone else realize that they are not alone. And if you know someone who constantly withdraws, cancels plans, or becomes quiet in social situations, share this video with compassion rather than judgment. Their distance may not mean they do not care. It may mean they are fighting a battle they have never known how to explain. Subscribe for more conversations that help make hidden emotional struggles easier to understand. You have spent long enough believing that fear is your personality. It is not who you are. It is something you learned. And with patience, support, and courage, it is something you can slowly learn to move beyond.